Hello, welcome, happy new year. So as you can see from the title of this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about all of the books that I read in 2023. I'm only going to talk briefly about all of the books that I read. I read 25 books, so there's not all that many to go through, but I am also making a top 10 favorites and a most disappointing books of 2023 video. They're both coming later this week, and I'll talk more in depth about a few of the books that I mentioned here then. I figure for this video, I just give you my ratings and my general impressions of the books and move on. As you can see from the window, it's pretty snowy, so I'm in a great mood. I love this kind of weather. It's a little chaotic out there. For now, we have a really nice view though out of the windows. So with a really snowy backdrop, I present to you my first video of 2024. Let's just get straight to the books. The first book that I read and finished in 2023. I started this book in 2022 and I finished it in 2023. The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. If you've seen almost any of my other videos, you will know that this is my favorite book of all time. This was a solid 5-star rating from me. I adored every moment of reading this. I loved it so much. I really started 2023 on such a reading high. It was such a great way to start my reading year. I have no complaints at all about this. This was phenomenal. It was fantastic. It was so intimidating because of the size, but once I started reading it, it was just, I just couldn't get enough. So no surprise to anyone. Anyone who knows me at this point will know this is my favorite book of all time. It was a fantastic way to start the year, 5 stars. The second book that I read in 2023, the first one I started in 2023, is Beyond the Wand by Tom Felton. If you somehow don't know, Tom Felton is an actor. He played the part of Draco Malfoy in the Harry Potter movies, and he published this in late 2022. It came out at some point in 2022 anyway. I got it for Christmas and I could not wait to read it. I don't usually like rating nonfiction, but I felt the need to give it something because I thoroughly enjoyed it. I gave it 4.5 star rating. This is obviously Tom Felton's story up until this point in his life, so it doesn't only include his Harry Potter filming experience. There was a lot in this that I did not expect, and I admire him so much, and it was just a really good read. I got through this so fast. A really good book. The third book that I read in 2023 was Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus. I had never heard of this book until my best friend brought it to my attention, and I'm so glad she did because I really enjoyed this. I rated this 4.5 stars. It was an excellent read. Also, the cover I love this cover for this book. The retro style I really enjoy, and everything is so symmetrical. I think those are the elements that just really make this cover for me. I don't know, I love it. There's nothing about this particular edition of the book and this book in itself that I didn't like. The fourth book that I decided to pick up in 2023 was the first volume of a manga series that I'd heard a lot about and wanted to give a try. The Girl from the Other Side. This is a manga series that's not particularly long. I think there are 12 volumes. I think they're all out as well. It's nice to pick up some manga between really big books or really heavy books, or just when you don't really know what it is you want to read, because they're really quick to get through. A lot of them anyway aren't particularly big and you fly through them. I really like the artwork in this. I can't tell you all that much about the story because honestly, I know that I like the characters and I like the art. But I can't really tell you all that much about the story because I don't actually know all that much about the story. I'm just enjoying the vibes. I gave this a 4.25-ish star rating. Not perfect, but pretty good. I really enjoyed it. The fifth book I picked up in 2023 was The Republic of Thieves. This is the third book in the Gentleman Bastards series by Scott Lynch. And it's been a while since I read the first and the second one, but I've had the third one for the longest time on my shelves, and I decided it was time to just finish this one up. So at this point, I'm all caught up. We've been waiting for the fourth book for a while. I think there's finally some progress in the potential release of that book. We'll see. But The Republic of Thieves is my least favorite of the 3 books in the Gentleman Bastard series so far. I rated it 3 stars. I don't think it's too much of a spoiler to say this will be on the list of my most disappointing reads of 2023, not because it's a bad book. I don't think I've read a single bad book this year. It's just that it was not what I was hoping it would be. It didn't live up to what I expected of this installment. I'll talk more about it in that designated video coming later this week. But yeah, 3-star read. Still love the series. The characters are great. The setting and the writing is exceptional, but it didn't live up to what I was expecting. The 6th book I read was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. I don't have a physical copy of it, and I'm okay with that. I gave it a pretty decent rating. I rated it almost 4 stars, but now I feel like I should probably lower it, because although I must have enjoyed it at the time enough to give it such a good rating, I cannot tell you what it was about, who the characters are, what their names are, what the point of the book was. I cannot tell you anything about it at all. I don't remember it. It was not very memorable, clearly. And although I wrote in my review that I was sure the 2nd installment would be better than the 1st one, I don't see myself continuing with the series just because I can't remember the 1st one, so I feel no urge or excitement to be getting to the 2nd one. It's just another series that I'd just be reading because I started the 1st one, and I don't see myself doing it. So The Inheritance Games was not very memorable to me, and I'll probably be lowering my rating. Next, I read Mysteries of Thorn Manor by Margaret Rogerson. I've been really enjoying Margaret Rogerson's books. This particular one is a small companion to Sorcery of Thorns. I talked a little bit about these books in my winter reads video that I posted a few days ago. I really enjoyed this because I love the characters so much and the setting was amazing. So I rated this 4.5 stars. It was a great little supplement. It's not much, but it was just, I enjoyed being back with the characters, being back in the house, and I had a nice time reading it. So this got a 4.5 rating from me, thoroughly enjoyed it, and definitely would not mind reading more about these characters. After Mysteries of Thorn Manor, I read Your Name, volumes 1, 2, and 3. These are all of the volumes of the Your Name manga. This is a manga that is based on the movie of the same name, which is an anime movie, and I remember watching that movie years ago and I loved it so much. I cried. It was an emotional movie, and I've been trying to get a hold of the manga volumes for the longest time. I finally got all 3, so I binged them. They were great. They were amazing. I loved them. I gave them all 4.5 stars. A great time for me. I'm so glad I have these. I remember loving the movie so much, and I knew I needed the manga, and I'm so glad I have them. Then I read one of my favorite books of the year. I've mentioned this once on this channel before. Babel by R.F. Kuang. This is the 2nd book that I've tabbed. The 1st one and only other one is The Count of Monte Cristo. So I started my tabbing of books last year. This book was amazing. I gave it a solid 5-star rating. I thought it was great. I thought it was so interesting. It was emotional. It was educational. I really, really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a good book. Such fantastic writing. This was my first meeting with R.F. Kuang. She's written a few other things, and if all of it's written this way, I mean, I'm reading The Poppy War currently, and I'm enjoying her writing there too. So this is an author that might be one of those that I want to read everything that they've written. This was such a good book. I kind of feel like I want to reread it. We'll see if that happens anytime soon, but I loved this. This was so good. Following Babel, I read Murder on the Orient Express by Agatha Christie. I knew this story very well. Of course, I've watched the movie several times. I've watched all of the movies that David Suchet has made, and over the past few years I've been slowly making my way through the original books as well. I try to read a couple every year, at least one. This was the only one I got to this year. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really good book. I enjoy Agatha Christie's writing and the structure of her stories. This one is no different. I gave it a 5 stars. One of my absolute favorite Agatha Christie books. It's a little bit difficult because, I mean, I already know the solution to all of the stories. I don't remember the solution to every single one, but I know most of them. And so I spend the time reading these books trying to see where the hints are and picking up on the clues and putting them together myself. It's a little bit of cheating because I already know the story, but still, I really enjoyed my time reading this. And again, I mentioned this in my winter books video. If you want a wintry mystery, I'm going to recommend this one specifically. At the moment, the train traffic in at least my part of Norway is really struggling because of the snow. So this one's really been stuck in my mind for the past few days. I kind of want to reread it actually. But yeah, Murder on the Orient Express. Great book. Then I read the second volume of The Girl from the Other Side. Most of what I said about the first volume applies here as well. Still really enjoying the characters, loving the artwork, not sure where the story is going, but having a good time with it anyway. 4.2 something stars. We're now coming to what was the end of the summer of 2023, where I finally got around to one of my most anticipated reads of the year, Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. I read Sky in the Deep by Adrienne Young, which is a YA Viking romance historical fiction story, and I loved it. I loved that book so much. And since then, I've not read all that much of what she's written. I'm trying to catch up with the rest of her published works. Spells for Forgetting was Adrienne Young's debut adult novel, and I was so excited about it. I gave this a 3.5 star rating. It was trying to be a few too many things and didn't manage to fully be any of them. I think it ended up stretching itself a little too thin. This was definitely a letdown. Again, not a bad book at all. 3.5 stars out of 5 is a good rating, but I just wish I expected this to be higher. I expected more. I expected to be blown away, and I wasn't. In fact, in some parts of this, I was really fighting my way through the pages. I'm still going to read everything Adrienne Young's ever written. I'll be making my way through a catalog at some point, but this one just, it let me down, and I'm really, really sad about it. I really expected to absolutely love this, and the fact that I didn't just kills me. The cover is beautiful though. Like, this is a really well designed book. It's stunning. But after the disappointment that was Spells for Forgetting, I was so happy to read another fantastic book that ended up becoming one of my all-time favorite books, and definitely one of my favorites of 2023. I'm talking about Red, White, and Royal Blue by Casey McQuiston. I rated the story 4.75 stars. It was almost a perfect 5-star. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really cute and fun. These characters were great. They were such great characters. They are this story. They make this story. Those of you who watched my favorites video will know this, but I got the collector's edition of the Red, White, and Royal Blue book because I loved this story so much that I needed to have the regular paperback and also the hardcover collector's edition. That's how much I loved this. This was so great. It was just a fun time. Towards the end of summer, I read my second Emily Henry book, Beach Read. I rated this 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. It was really cute. Emily Henry's romances are the kind of romances that I enjoy reading. The characters were cool. They were interesting. I enjoyed getting to know them. There's more to these characters than just attractiveness, right? There's depth and flaws. These characters are going through things. They're relatable. And there's just so much more to the story than a simple romance. I feel like I want to read everything Emily Henry has written, and I'm working my way towards that goal. I've really been enjoying Emily Henry's books that I've read so far. I've read 2, and I can't wait to read the rest. I'm really excited about reading the other books she's put out. Then I read a 4.5 star read The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. Another romance, and a fantastic one. This one is a little fantastical as well because it has the element of witches in it, and there's magic, and it is just... This is the kind of book that becomes a comfort read. It's just a cozy story. The vibes are immaculate. The characters are amazing. I actually really miss this story and these characters. Another book that I want to reread. And I loved this book. This was a really, really good one. As I said, 4.5 star rating. I'm so glad that I picked this up. Then I read An Enchantment of Ravens by Margaret Rogerson. This is the author who wrote Sorcery of Thorns and Mysteries of Thorn Manor, and after having enjoyed that story and those characters so much, I wanted to give something else that Margaret Rogerson had written a chance. So I picked up Enchantment of Ravens, which is her debut novel, and I know a lot of people don't love this. At least it's very 50-50. Those who really enjoy it and those who don't. I remember reading reviews that said this was too insta-lovey, that they couldn't root for the characters together because there wasn't enough about them by themselves, and I don't really agree. I don't usually have unpopular opinions on books. I usually agree with the majority, but I find myself almost having an unpopular opinion. I personally didn't think that there was much wrong with it at all. I actually really enjoyed this. I gave it 4 stars, and I think it thoroughly deserves it. I don't know. I could definitely have done with it being a little bit longer, but other than that, I thought that the characters were pretty well done, and especially considering that it's a debut, I really thought that it was good. And just as a nice bonus, I really like the cover. After An Enchantment of Ravens, I got around to The Two Towers by J.R.R. Tolkien. This is the second book in the ever-famous Lord of the Rings trilogy. I've mentioned this before in another video. I've now at this point read the first 2 books, and movie-wise, the second movie is my least favorite, but I actually really enjoyed The Two Towers, the book, more than I enjoyed The Fellowship of the Ring, the book. And definitely more than I enjoyed the movie. I still think the movie's great, don't get me wrong. But if I had to rank the 3 movies, The Two Towers would be third. Book-wise, this one is my favorite of the first 2, which really took me by surprise. I ended up rating this solid 4 stars, maybe a little bit more. I just love this story. I love this world. I love these characters. I really thought that it was so good, and I'm so glad that I finally decided to take on Tolkien last year, and want to thank my past self for finally picking up The Fellowship of the Ring and getting around to reading the actual Lord of the Rings books, because these are phenomenal. They're really good. I really am enjoying them. Really, really good books. I proceeded to take a complete 180 and read Marriage for One by Ella Mays. This is a romance, and I gave it 3 stars. Kind of want to rank it a little bit lower. Another disappointment. I expected to like this more than I did. The writing is okay. The characters are okay. Everything's just very okay about it. It was just not a very memorable story. I don't remember much at all. And I am actually going to unhaul this book. I don't want it on my shelves. So, needless to say that this was not a favorite. I finally got around to reading The Final Empire by Brandon Sanderson. This is a book that I'm a little scared about talking about because I know how well loved it is. I gave it a 3.5 star rating. Please don't hurt me. It's just, I went into this expecting something that it was not. This was an entirely different story from what I'd been given the impression that it was, and I think if I'd gone into it with the right impression, I would have liked it a lot more. I also think I was pushing my way through this a little bit too intensely when I was kind of slumpy, and that probably also influenced my enjoyment of it. I'm going to give this a new chance. At some point, I want to reread it and read the rest of the series, this time knowing what to expect. Maybe that'll heighten my rating a little bit, but as it is, I thought this was good. I was expecting it to become a 5-star favorite, and it was just not what I was under the impression that it was. So again, please don't hurt me. I will be giving it a new chance now that I know what it is. I was misled. So I then got to Too Late by Colleen Hoover. I think out of Hoover's books, what are meant to be thrillers or crimey novels are the ones that I should be picking up because they're the ones that appeal to me the most. Even so, for what this is, it's an okay book, but all I can think of when I think of this book now is the missed potential that it has. And I'll talk a little bit more about this in a future video, but for now, needless to say, it was a 3.5 star rating. It was an okay read. It was an okay book. And again, for what it was fine. But I went into this expecting more, and it didn't really deliver what I wanted it to deliver. Maybe I should have anticipated that this would not deliver what I wanted it to deliver, but all I can think of now is the missed potential that it could have been even better, and it's gonna bother me forever. Now we get to around the time when I started my booktube channel, and I read All the Light We Cannot See by Anthony Doerr. I made a reading vlog for this. I'm going to link it, and no surprise at all, it's in the title of the video, no spoiler. This was a 5-star read. For me, it's become a new favorite. I adore this book. It is phenomenal. It is a fantastic book. It had me in a book hangover for days. I could not stop thinking about it. I had a lot of incoherent thoughts about it in that video. If you're interested, then feel free to check it out. You can definitely expect this in my favorites video coming later this week. It was so good. So good. I can't stop thinking about it. It was so moving, and I loved the way that it was structured and written. It was interesting and emotional, and it punched you, but then tried to like hug it better. And it was just such an incredible book, such an incredible story. I cannot rave about it enough, and I cannot recommend it enough. If you're into World War II stories, if you're into emotional historical fiction, put this on your list if you haven't read it already. Check it out, give it a try. I loved it. I loved it. I can't sing its praises enough. Again, we'll be getting a second copy of this book so I can tab it and highlight and make notes because it deserves it. This is one of these books that I need to reread and just absorb all over again and just... Also, fun note, they made an adaptation, which was why I picked it up and read it at the time that I did. They made an adaptation for it, and it came out on Netflix in November. So if you don't want to read the book, but you want to know what the story is, there's 4 episodes, and although it's not a perfect adaptation, it's a really good adaptation. It's still the same story, the same characters are there, and it's really good. I can recommend that too. My second to last book that I finished in 2023 was Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. This was not at all what I was expecting it to be, and I feel like a fool for having talked about what I imagined it to be, and it turns out that it's entirely different. This was a ride. This was amazing. It was incredibly well written and structured so well. The writing is great, but the story itself is actually like, it is twisty, and I was like questioning things through the entire book, and I can't believe that it's as short as it is. It feels like it's so much longer when you read it, but like in a really good way. One of my favorite reads of the year, absolutely. You can expect to see this one in my favorites of the year too. Phenomenal book. I'm so glad that I finally read it. I gave it a 4.5 star rating. The only reason it's not a perfect 5 star is because the ending I felt was a little too rushed. But aside from that, I thought it was an excellent read that I highly recommend to anyone, really. Such a good book. The final book that I read this year is Breakfast at Tiffany's by Truman Capote. I'm not going to say too much about this because I have a little like reading vloggy thing going up for it when I watch the adaptation, because I've never seen the movie. And I'd never read the book. There's a little blurb here on the cover, and it says the most romantic story ever written. And I don't know if I agree, but it was a good book. It was really, really short, and I'll share more of my thoughts on this particular book in a later video. I don't know when that will go up, but at some point it'll be there, and I'll talk more about this one. I thought this was a pretty decent way to end the year, and it helped me exceed my minimum of 24 books. So those are all the 25 books that I read in 2023, and just a little bit briefly about them. You'll see quite a few of these in my other videos because again, there's only 25, and if I'm making a top 10 and then also another video about the books that let me down, I'll cover a good majority of these books. So you'll hear more about them in those videos. They'll be coming later this week. For those of you who have seen a few of my videos, you'll notice that I didn't finish all the books that I wanted to finish by the end of 2023. So it leaves a little bittersweet taste because although I did exceed my goal of 24 books in a year that was riddled with slumps, I still feel a little bit disappointed that I didn't read all of the books that I wanted to read last year. I would have been able to manage it had it not been for the fact that the 2 weeks leading up to Christmas became a lot more hectic than I could have imagined. They were so busy and I was exhausted, and I was just busy, really, really busy, and it was just a lot more hectic than I was anticipating, so that didn't help at all. It was a good reading year in the sense that I read a lot of books that I really, really enjoyed, but it was a little bit unsatisfactory because I didn't finish all the books that I really wanted to finish in 2023. That being said, I don't see the next few weeks being particularly hectic or super busy for me, so I have a lot of hope that I'll be able to finish those books and some more this month. I'm not going to make any promises or be too ambitious because I am a very strong and firm believer of the jinx, and I don't want to jinx myself. I feel like that's what I did with that video, and I'm not going to make that mistake again. If I read enough books, then I'll make a January reading wrap-up, and hopefully you'll see the books that I was planning on finishing in 2023 on that list. I'm almost finished with Razorblade Tears by S.A. Cosby. I'm so upset that I didn't manage to finish it before the end of 2023, but I'm so close. So that'll probably be the first book that I actually finish in 2024. And that really sets, I mean, I'm enjoying it. So it's setting a really nice tone for the rest of the reading year, at least for January. So to sum up my 2023 reading year, I'm quite happy with it in that I read so many books that I ended up giving really high ratings and that I really enjoyed. It's going to be difficult to make a top 10 favorites, and that's a really good problem to have. Do I wish I could have read more? Absolutely. Do I have more and better hopes for the reading year of 2024? For sure. We'll see how it goes, but I'm going to start the year on an optimistic note. I have some really high expectations of a lot of the books that I'm planning on reading this year. I'm really excited for it, and I can't wait to talk more books with you guys once I do finish them. But that'll be it for this video, my first video of 2024. As always, if you have thoughts and opinions on any of the books that I've mentioned in this video, then feel free to share those in the comments, and that's where I'll see you guys. Feel free to share what books you read in 2023 and how you feel about 2023 as a reading year for you, whether you're satisfied with your reading in 2023, maybe you read an unusual amount of really good books, or maybe you found some new favorites. Tell me all about your 2023 reading year. But that'll be it from me. I hope you guys had a really nice New Year's celebration. I hope you've had a really nice day. I hope you have a really, really nice week. And I hope that the book you're reading is a really good one. Bye!